Remember when common sense was common? When standing up for what is right was the right thing to do? Welcome to The Right Side. Common sense conversations about Hawaii's political landscape and how it affects you, your ohana, and your community. Join us for the next hour as we cut through the political noise and look at Hawaii from the right side, where public officials and community leaders discuss the policies that affect our future, strategies that move the needle, and highlight leaders that are stepping up to make a difference. Get ready for The Right Side, a common sense conversation.
All right, welcome to The Right Side. We are live. Okay, so if you want to call in, which we invite you to do at 808-913-6450, producer Leah, she's ready. She's ready to take your calls. And so please, if you want to give us a call, we'd love to hear from you. How's it going, Malia?
It's great, Augie.
Yeah.
It's so good to be back on the show with you.
I know. Are you excited about this weekend? I know you're paddling from Oahu to Molokai.
From Molokai to Oahu.
Okay. Same thing, right?
Well, I think it might be harder to go from Oahu to Molokai, but it depends. Actually, this weekend it's going to be a little bit tough because we don't have any wind. We don't have any waves helping us, and we have the rising tide, which means we kind of get pushed back.
Oh, gosh.
So it could be a very, very long, hot day.
So if you guys didn't know, Malia is my communication director for my office, but she also loves to paddle canoe.
I do.
And she's going to do that 6-hour trek.
I hope it's 6 hours, Augie. I'm praying. Can you please pray for me this weekend and
everybody.
also now?
I mean, that's insane. Like, and you know, when she told me this, I was like, Malia, how many times? She's like, what, 6 times?
Yep. Quite a few times.
Think about that, waking up and going, I think I'm going to paddle for 6 hours, producer Leah. You know, I do morning radio every day, and I tell myself, man, I got to do this for 4 hours.
I know, and you know, I'm the coach, so if anything goes wrong, it's on me.
It is on you. Okay. Well, we wishing you luck, and you'll do a great job.
Thank you.
You do a great job, you know.
Thank you.
You know, I am so appreciative to Mr. Salvia for giving us this opportunity. One of the things, and now it's almost a year already. Can you believe it?
I know. I don't, because it went by so fast, and I was thinking, gosh, it was really grateful to him for giving us this chance.
Opportunity, right.
Right? We got to know a lot. I think we got a lot smarter this year.
Absolutely, and that's the name of the game. You know, at 57, we are trying to learn a little bit more. You can't teach old dog new tricks. You can. The number here is 808-913-6450. Man, today we learn more about the force behind Oahu's nightlife, the Honolulu Liquor Commission. And, you know, since I got into office, the Honolulu Liquor Commission have been like in the limelight, and a lot of, you know, challenges, a lot of controversy, you know, but then, you know, I've learned a lot, and I know, you know, that you guys will enjoy our conversation today. You know, the city commission controls the island's social scene by granting, pausing, and revoking liquor licenses. This powerful body oversees about 1,500 liquor licenses and enforces state laws related to alcohol sales. Today we welcome 2 guests to discuss the balance between rules and rivalry. All right, Malia, let's do it.
All right. Sal Petilos, the administrator of the Honolulu Liquor Commission, brings a wealth of experience to his role, formerly the director of the Department of Alcohol Beverage Control in Salt Lake City, Utah. Was there alcohol in Utah? I was going to ask you that.
When I left, we had sales of about $503 million.
Wow. So people do drink in Utah.
Yeah, I think isn't that like the level a little bit less?
I don't know. But, you know, it's just I think it's one of those misconceptions about Utah that you can't get a drink there. I mean, there have been a lot of changes in the liquor laws there. And all I can say is that as the DABC was the sole provider of alcohol in the state, and so we controlled the stores and stuff like that. And when I left, there were about $503 million in sales.
It's thriving.
Wow. Okay. So Sal is a seasoned legal professional with a BA in political science from Rutgers University and a juris doctor from Fordham University Law School. In 2023, Sal inherited a commission plagued with internal challenges, low morale, a backlogged licensing system, and an agency with a reputation in need of rehabilitation. Rehabilitation. And we'll talk about them more a little bit today. For the past 2 years, he's been committed to steering the agency towards greater transparency and efficiency, and we look forward to hearing about that. Also joining us is Jimmy Chen, the agency deputy to the administrator. Now, he has an interesting background with a distinguished background as a former counterterrorism and counterintelligence agent with the FBI, as well as previous tenure as a Navy JAG officer and Special Assistant to U.S. Attorney. Jimmy brings a unique perspective to the Commission. Together, Sal and Jimmy can lead the Commission into a new era of accountability and effectiveness.
Well, welcome to the show, guys. Okay, so a lot of people maybe don't know, but if you are unfamiliar with the Honolulu Liquor Commission, can you please share a little bit about the agency and what they do?
I think you mentioned a lot of the things that the Liquor Commission does, although I don't know if we're the power behind the nightlife Honolulu. I'll leave that up to the licensees. For us, so essentially, the Honolulu Liquor Commission is responsible for controlling, supervising, and regulating the manufacture, importation, and sale of liquor on the county of Oahu, and they do that through enforcement, investigations, and education. As you mentioned, they have the ability to grant and deny, suspend and revoke licenses. And additionally, I think one of the parts that may be important here is that they also have the authority to hear administrative complaints or violations and set penalties for those violations. I think in a nutshell that's what the Commission does.
Yeah. So, Jimmy, you've been on the job now for how long?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Anything exciting that you like to share, or your thoughts so far, being here for 3 weeks?
Yeah, first, thank you, Sal, for having me and, join the HLC. But yeah, I'm just learning as much as I can from my predecessor and just trying to familiarize myself with the liquor laws. And like you said, there's a lot to learn, but I'm up for the challenge.
Awesome. So how many people work in the agency, and what are their general responsibilities?
So at this point, we have 42 people who work for the agency. So there are 3 branches. There are 2, the Field Services Branch and the Administrative Services Branch. So the Field Services Branch are lack of a better way of putting it, the point of the spear for the agency. So those are the people that have the enforcement investigators and licensing investigators are in that section. Additionally, we have the administrative staff who are responsible for, say, auditing licensees, taking care of people who come up to the counter, issuing IDs, and also just taking in applications of people who want to apply for licenses.
Okay, 808-913-6450. If you guys got any questions for the Liquor Commission, guys, there's such a wide variety of liquor establishments in Hawaii, and from restaurants and bars to strip clubs and more. So how do you regulate them, and what do you regulate?
Yeah, so I think let's look at it broadly speaking.
Okay.
How do we regulate them? Initially, we start regulating them by having them go through an application process where they have to get a license. So depending on the class of license that you need, there are certain things that you need to submit that need to be vetted by the licensing group before you can go forward and get a license approved by the Commission. Beyond that, I think it's critical in terms of regulation that our investigators know what the rules and laws are. And so when we hire them, we go through a 3-week training period, and then eventually, they begin to shadow more senior people, go out in the field, kind of understand what's going on, see what's going on, get an idea of what the more senior people are looking for, and in that way, they also get to learn about the rules and the laws that apply to certain licensees, and in that way, learn more in a practical manner how to interpret the rules and regulations as well as statutes. Now,
Sal, is there are you guys completely filled, or you guys are still looking for field agents?
Well, we continue to look for field agents. I think that's one of the things that has been difficult for the agency. When I came in, we definitely had a lack of investigators on the enforcement side. We've gone through a couple of years where we've been able to hire investigators. However, we've also had troubles retaining them. But it seems as though as we go through this process and we go through what's known as continuous recruitment, is that there are always applicants, and we have the ability to pick and choose and not just take whoever.
Right.
And so I think despite the losses that we've had, we're gaining again. So hopefully that continues, and perhaps this year will go beyond what we had last year.
Yeah. So before we go out to the break, because I see producer Leah giving me the signal. If people are interested in becoming a part of the Liquor Commission, where can they go and what can they do?
Yeah, usually there's the Department of Human Resources puts out a recruitment announcement, and they can look for that, and they can also look at our website and see whether or not we're recruiting.
Okay, awesome. All right, we're here with the Liquor Commission. If you guys got a question, we're taking it. We're live. I know sometimes, a lot of people think that we are a pre-recorded show, but we are live, and we'd love to hear from you. 808-913-6450. You also be able to watch us on YouTube in the next week. It's the right side of Common Sense Conversation. Hope you guys having a great afternoon.
Welcome back to The Right Side with Hawaii public officials and community leaders. Let's get back to Common Sense Conversations.
It's the right side of Common Sense Conversation. The number here, 808-913-6450. And we are absolutely live. And we have the Liquor Commission here today. I appreciate you guys coming in and educating the public. So what role does the Liquor Commission play in supporting local businesses, especially new ventures seeking licenses?
I think for us, it's not a question of supporting any particular set of businesses, but supporting all businesses and supporting all of those who are going through the application process. I think, and it's critical, I think, when people go through the application process, that they submit the right documents, they submit it in the correct format, and so on. Because
so explain that. Is it a difficult process when you applying for a business to get a liquor license?
I think it's a little difficult in terms of some of the technical things that you have to be aware of when you apply.
Okay.
And so I think, but the website has frequently asked questions about to apply. And to be honest with you, if you have questions you need to talk to somebody, you can drop by the office or call the office, and you'll be directed to somebody who can help you with any questions that you may have about the application process.
Like what's some of the challenges that applicants get? What is that this is one thing, out of...
So when you look at it, we look at what's known as a tax map key. That's usually problematic. And sometimes, people will have addresses that don't fit that tax map key and so on.
So explain the tax the tax map key to the audience that maybe for the first time hearing, you guys doing something on a liquor commission.
So it's kind of in my experience, it's unique to Honolulu and Hawaii, I guess, because it essentially determines the location of a premises or a parcel and so on, and that's the beginning and end all of a lot of the regulations, right? Being that map has to be correct, your premises have to be located correctly on that, has to be correct scale, because a lot of notice requirements and things like that play off of that.
Right.
So, you have to measure a certain distance, and then you have to make sure that a certain percentage of registered owners are registered voters and owners of condos or real property, or even members of...
So basically, you cannot just put an establishment where you want.
Well, yeah, but it has to have some relationship to the tax map fees that the city uses. You can do that.
Of course.
There are, of course, ordinances or is the zoning correct? Those things come into play as well. So when you go through the application process, you actually have to work with things like with DPP or specific little agencies within the city itself. There are certain areas that you don't go to DDP, you go to DPP, you go to somebody else to get that zoning clearance.
It's good. I want people to really understand this, all kind of compliance that got to happen before you go, okay, I'm going to run this business, and I'm going to, but then, I can't, why? So those little nuances help people understand, why it's important to make sure you put your dots in, make sure you cross in all your T's. Malia?
Well, when you joined the commission, Sal, in 2023, there was a lot of backlog. I think it was like 9 months of backlog for people to try to get an application through. And I was just curious if it's gotten better. And then is that part of your role that you're going to have to do? Or are you just like strictly investigator over there? What is it?
Well, I think, if you don't mind, I'll answer that question.
Sure.
So the backlog is really a big concern for the commission, right? Unfortunately for us, I'd hate to say this, and it's not an excuse, but we also, in the time that I've been there, we essentially lost 2 investigators in the licensing section. So essentially, you cut the staff by about a third, and it's not easy replacing those folks. They have the people that can replace them need a certain level of experience, especially in alcohol regulation and so on. So I can't wave a magic wand and say, you are an LCI 3 and you can do this. I'd love to do that, but that can't be done. But it's a concern for the commission. And in recognition of the fact that, while we're trying to become more efficient and we're trying out certain ideas on how to go through the application process quicker, a couple of things that the commission has done to make the financial burden at least a little more bearable as you go through as you try to use special licenses to be able to serve alcohol as you move through the process. So what they've done now is that they've had a fee reduction in case, like for example, if you're one of the lucky applicants who can actually use a temporary license, you're able to use 2 of those 220-day temporary licenses before you need to go to the specials. But so they look at that and say, hey, if the cost of your if we haven't been able to provide you a license after 240 days, who's the cost of that? Was it because the agency couldn't get to your application and so on? And if that's the case, they'll say, okay, you still have to pay a fee, but we'll reduce it by 50%. And additionally, for those who don't have the ability to use the temporary licenses but are getting special licenses, they also made it like you don't have to pay in one lump sum anymore. You can pay it on a monthly installment basis, so that at least the hit isn't that significant right off the bat.
Yeah. So do they still wait like 9 months?
Yeah, it's still taking a long time. Like I said, we need that's something that's a real concern for both the commission and myself, and we're trying to find ways to get the applications through the process quicker. Like so we're looking at that. Like for example, some of the delays are caused by applicants not providing documents or information. Right. So we're looking at ways that we can get them to provide that for us, so that we can move forward with those applications.
All right, 808-913-6450. If you guys got a question for the Liquor Commission, Jimmy, let me ask you this. What advice would you give to someone interested in like maybe opening a bar or a liquor store regarding the licensing process?
Yeah, I mean, actually be thoughtful about the whole process as to whether or not this is really the business that you want to get into. And if this is the business that you want to get into, then, do your research. I was frankly surprised when I first went to our website. There's a wealth of information out there. I mean, if you kind of you have to look for it, but it's there. Especially on the licensing side, where we go over the facts of that whole list of things that you need to get. So I would say that if you're even thinking about getting into this business, develop a plan, take your time, go look at that list, and just be sure that you know what all that information is and where you need to go get it. It's definitely something that you can do on your own, but I know there are experts out there, third-party consultants that you can hire as well. I don't think that's necessary, but again, if they've been through it a couple of times, they could definitely give you a leg up in what you need to do.
Absolutely. I think, if you're a business owner or you're thinking about becoming a business owner, it's something that we all got to do. Yeah. Some people, it's so crazy, like, like for me as a private business owner, some people go in it just because they want to say, I own a business, and then people really take the time to go, okay, how do I be successful? And it's exactly what you said. Make sure that this is something that, long term, this is going to help benefit me, my family, and not only that, but the community, because, we all want to be responsible. What are some of the liquor laws in Hawaii that you guys enforce?
Well, there are a lot.
Yeah.
So, we look at things like, for example, did you fail to renew, and did you serve alcohol while you're going through the renewal, while you were trying to get your renewal? So that's a violation. And we look at things like the personal history of an individual, like whether or not when they apply, whether or not they have a felony conviction, things like that, which will basically say that you can't be you can't be an owner of the licensed premises. So it runs the gamut from things like not having the correct signs on place, having managers that don't have their manager's card that's issued by the Liquor Commission, nudity in places where you're not supposed to have nudity. So it runs the gamut of things. So it's pretty broad.
Well, you guys take on a heavy responsibility in making sure that everybody's compliant and making sure that everybody's safe, and not only for the business but the patrons that go into these businesses. So, yeah, it's a tough job.
Yeah,
it's a tough job. All right, 808-913-6450. We're talking with the Liquor Commission. If you have questions, we are live today. That means, you can call and get your question answered, or later on you can go back, and if you missed the first part, you can always go back on YouTube, and Malia does a really good job at uploading the video so that you can catch the whole interview online. This is the Right Side of Common Sense Conversation, and we're talking Liquor Commission.
Welcome back to The Right Side with Hawaii public officials and community leaders. Let's get back to Common Sense Conversation.
808-913-6450. We are live here on The Right Side, and we're talking with the Liquor Commission. All right, Malia, I know you have a question.
I do. Well, we have underage drinking in every place, I'm sure. But in Hawaii, or in the county of Honolulu, how do you address underage drinking, and what preventative measures are in place for that?
So I think in terms of underage drinking, our enforcement teams usually go out and see whether or not they conduct what's known as shoulder taps, which is essentially approach individuals who they believe are underage and ask for ID, and if they are underage, give them a citation. Beyond that, however, and also they observe whether or not somebody in the store actually provided the alcohol to the minor. But beyond that, we also have some information that's on our website, and in fact, I think Augie was the protagonist of all in all these videos, but essentially lets people know the consequences of serving minors. So, that's out there, and I hope people watch it and see that. And additionally, we provide training to managers and bartenders that before providing them with their identification cards.
It's super important, that's why, I'm a firm believer in transparency and education, and that's the only way we can really change anything at this moment in time. That we got to educate ourselves, and we also got to know, we have to all be good neighbors. If you see underage drinking, you should report it. It's just, something that we all should do, because, we live on an island, and unfortunately, anything bad happens, it kind of, because we live in an island, we have this coconut wireless that goes out, and, we can be better stewards in everything that we do.
That's true, right? I mean, look at our death toll right now on the roads. Really, really steep.
Yeah.
Everybody has to be careful.
And Augie, if I may add, I was at a state conference last year, and a presentation was made by I believe it's the Attorney General's office, and they had statistics on underage drinking and also information on non-governmental agencies that people can get in touch with to try to get a handle on the issue of underage drinking. Now,
is it growing?
The data wasn't really that up to date, but I think the concern is there. I think about the number of people, about the percentage of underage individuals who are getting drinks.
Right. It's scary. Well, not scary. It's a real fact that I read that we like 35% of high school seniors are not graduating. So what are they doing if they're not graduating? If they're not, in school? They're doing things that they're not supposed to. And, it's a sad situation, but, again, we can all do a little bit better. Jimmy, you have an extensive and diverse background in law enforcement. Can you share a bit about your history and how you ended up, in Hawaii and at this position?
Sure. This is actually my second stint in Hawaii.
Okay.
The first time was with the Navy. I came out here for 3 years. I was a prosecutor over at Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
And then for the last year, I was a Special Assistant U.S. Attorney under Ed Kubo at the time. And
tell him I said hi. You still talk to him?
He's great.
I had him a long time, but I still see some of the U.S. attorneys that I used to work with.
Awesome. Yeah.
A couple of them are judges now, so everybody's doing really well. But then, during my last year, I joined the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, the FBI had a policy saying that they were not going to return you back to the home office that you applied from. And, that was a little sad. But, I basically came back to Hawaii as soon as, a spot opened up for me. And I've been now, here for close to 20 years.
Oh, awesome.
Great. Yeah. But I was like, whoa, counterintelligence and all that stuff. How much work do we have to do at the Liquor Commission? I think must be a lot, huh? Serious stuff. Okay. But one of your assignments, Jimmy, is to improve operations and communications with the community to serve the citizens of the city and county of Honolulu. Is that part of your job?
Yeah. And in fact, when I interviewed with Sal, I told him the three things that I was looking to cultivate was to, be open,
mm-hmm.
be transparent, and to, garner trust. Trust is not something that you can just ask for or demand. I mean, that's something that you have to earn. And obviously, the HLC, given past acts, have kind of dug themselves a pretty big hole that we're going to have to kind of, work towards regaining that trust. And we regain that trust, though, through openness and transparency. And
Absolutely.
Openness just means, being available. Sal, he's making himself available to the public. We're coming here on the podcast talking to you guys. Just being available during hearings if anybody has questions about, hey, I have a question about my case, or hey, I have a question about applying for a license, or hey, how do I get started in this
mm-hmm.
business? And then transparency is just being, I come from a background where, everything was need to know, everything was classified. We didn't talk to the media. If you need a soundbite, you go talk to the public affairs officer. So it was quite refreshing to come here. And the first thing I see on the website is we post everything on there. You can get the agenda, you can see the hearing docket, you can see the minutes. We even have a splash page where we show the monthly numbers of hey, how many applications do we have? How many have we completed? Where things are still pending? So, that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's not positive news, just be transparent. I think people will appreciate the fact that, hey, you guys are trying your best, you're doing your job, and that's how you regain that public trust.
In the last 5 years of being a public servant, I know that being transparent is so much easier because, you're not going to always be perfect. You can make mistakes, and, people are okay when you apologize and you say, I'm sorry, when you're always transparent. So appreciate that because, we said at the top of the hour, there's a lot of challenges that you guys took on. And this is one department that I think people expect transparency because of the challenges.
Yeah, and if I may add, Augie, and this harkens back to the previous question
mm-hmm.
that you asked about what we can do to help applicants and so on. I've had applicants call and say, hey, can we talk to you? We're having problems with the process. And I'm happy to meet with them and get them connected with the right people. So there's always that avenue if worse comes to worse.
Right.
And maybe that way get some clarity about the process and maybe speed things up a little bit more in terms of having the right documents and just having the right information for our investigators to look at when they actually get to do
mm-hmm.
the investigation and the application.
No, that's very appreciative of you doing that because I think that's what we have in our district over 120,000 people live in District 9, and everybody wants some attention. So for you to be open like that and just take calls, I think that's super super important because Malia will tell you, I want to make sure that when people it's in our office that we're responding within 48 hours after the first email. making sure that we're super transparent, because I think that's what people want. I know Malia has a question because she's looking at me and she's like,
my mind is working.
Yeah.
No. I'm curious, because this is always like, watching the watchers. Like, how do you ensure that the liquor inspectors are also abiding by the law and treating everyone fairly? And how are liquor inspectors monitored?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think for the most part, people are willing to let us know if they have issues with the inspectors. So we get complaints if that happens, right? I think we had a series of Augie had mentioned the fact that prior to my being there were always questions about things that we were doing, and because of the loss that we have, we had to provide records that we had about certain events that happened. But beyond that, I think internally, when investigators go out, we look at their daily activity reports and see what kind of violations they're issuing and things like that, and ask questions about how they've done that. Like, for example, if there's a noise complaint and they say, "Oh, we went and we closed it." Question becomes, do you use sound meters and so on that's required so that you can actually say, hey, there's a violation here.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's taken a while, but I think, that becomes part of the process and procedures that we do. We look at it. If we have questions about things that happened during the evening, the chief investigator and myself will forward those questions as we review those reports. And I think one thing that we began yesterday.
Okay.
And we should
breaking news, everybody.
should actually provide more transparency into our operations, the use of body-worn cameras. Finally, we were finally able to go through the process of getting policies and procedures through the consultation process with HGA. We're okay. We finally got to the point of deploying those, and we're in a pilot program where we're going to test 3 different kinds of cameras and see how they work and see what our needs are, and eventually procure them. But I think for us, that record of the interaction will really let us know whether or not, for example, do we need to do additional training? How are our investigators engaging with the public and, in fact, the licensees themselves with their employees? So I think that's one of the things that, it's one of those things that we hope will provide us transparency not only through our operations, but also on how we can do things better.
808-913-6450. We are almost wrapping up, guys. Can you believe that? When we come back, we'll have final thoughts. And again, if you want to call in and ask the question to the Liquor Commission, 808-913-6450. This is The Right Side, a common sense conversation.
Welcome back to The Right Side with Hawaii public officials and community leaders. Let's get back to common sense conversation. 808-913-6450. It's The Right Side, a common sense conversation. And, for the last almost 40 minutes, we've been talking with the Liquor Commission. You have some time if you want. You have about 7 minutes to call 808-913-6450. Right, Producer Leah? That's about right. Yeah? Okay. Malia, you have a question, I think, for the director.
Well, we just heard the great news or interesting news that they're going to start wearing body cameras when they go to establishments, and that'll be help with the transparency and all that. But are there any other upcoming initiatives or programs that the Liquor Commission is excited about or currently working on, or any other technology that you're using?
Yeah, so we've also been under the gun about our daily activity reports and the fact that there are some issues with the accuracy of information there. So for the last couple of years, we've actually been engaged with an outside vendor to come up with an electronic version of a daily activity report with geolocation capabilities. My understanding is that the particular application is ready to be given to us to test. Knock on wood. But it's taken a while. But additionally, too, the one thing that we're also that's being created for us is another application that randomizes our inspections. So basically, it'll guarantee that if all things work, it'll guarantee that every licensee is visited at least on a normal basis outside of complaints. We will always investigate complaints and so on. But just in terms of normal routine inspections, that'll happen. Everybody will be touched a certain amount of times during the year because that's what the computer will say. We had developed an application like that internally, and we've used it since March-ish, February or March, and that's gone really well for us. We beta tested it in January and February. March implemented it, and it looks like we're getting that spread of normal routine investigations, and it's not often that we're going, and under that program, the number of places that we visited more than once, dropped. So I think we're going in the right direction. We're talking about the data and seeing what we need to do, maybe even refining some of the categories of what we're looking at. But so there's a couple of things that are coming on board. Additionally, I think we expect to be able to require DEI training for our staff. We're going to try to make that mandatory, and we're in the process of engaging in consultation with HGA about that, as well as the policies for the body-worn cameras and the electronic data stuff. But Jimmy, you can talk about the rules process that we're going through?
Yeah, so every once in a while we need to make sure the rules are still current and applicable, and also consistent with any new legislative bills that get signed during session. So we're actually doing a pretty comprehensive rules overhaul right now.
Okay.
That actually involves us doing a multi-level stakeholder meeting with a diverse cross-section of the public to include licensees, attorneys, the public. So if there's any concerns or if you see any proposed language that you would like to throw in there, then that would definitely be something that we'd be taking into consideration right now.
Yeah. No, there's a lot there, and I think again, it's us looking to what the Liquor Commission could look like in the future, with better transparency and everything else. And any other way, the public can engage with the Liquor Commission if they have concerns or any suggestions?
Sure. So we're actually located at 711 Capilani Boulevard, suite number 600. And like Sal already said, you can always stop by during business hours. If a licensee has any questions or they're a little unsure about some of their documentation, we've got intake, we've got licensing clerks that are there to help. And then you can call us. Our email is liquor@honolulu.gov. And then we also have a tip line. So if anybody has any complaints or enforcement issues, they can always reach out to us at any one of those mediums.
Okay, awesome. If you guys are catching the tail end of this, you can watch it on YouTube. If you want to know more about the Liquor Commission, you can go to the website. Lots of transparency there. Lots of things that you can find out about how you can, run a successful business and understand the rules and regulations when doing so. It's a big website. Lot for you to indulge in and learn. So make sure you do that. And
we'll put a link to it too in our videos.
Yeah,
to make sure people.
I appreciate you guys coming by today and hanging out with us. Very informative.
And I'm going to go watch the video with Augie on it. As soon as we get done here, I hear he's the star. Really?
Yeah, we have to. It's like who pays attention anymore, right? Who pays attention? Okay, so Malia, what can we look forward to in the next couple of weeks?
Well, we have a really exciting October.
Okay.
So can you believe it's October? Wow.
I know.
So our big campaign, I think we're probably going to announce soon, is for our office is dealing with all this illegal dumping.
Yeah.
It's so bad in our district, in the rivers, it's in the mountains, it's on the street side, and we're dealing with it in Waipahu, Ewa, but I know it's all over the island.
It's statewide.
Just tackling this issue. So we're going to have the 808 cleanup people.
Oh, awesome.
And also the city and county remember Henry?
Yes,
he
of course.
took us on a tour to trash.
That guy knows everything and like all different levels of recycling, why it's important, if you want to know about how trash is, taken in. You know, Henry's the guy.
And so, and we're about to kick off some PSAs with our office. So,
okay.
So anyway, so that, and then we have illegal game rooms. We're going to have the new Operation Follow Through. They're going to talk about that from HPD. We may, I believe, give you a tip here. Pa'a, who wrote The Chief of War.
How's that?
Coming on the show. And then interim HPD Chief Raid Vanek wants to come on.
That's awesome.
So it'll be a good October. Lots to talk about, and we'll always have we'll have the final thing in October before Halloween. Will be all about road safety.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to The Right Side. Again, if you missed today's interview with the Liquor Commission, you can go on YouTube and punch it out within the next week, and go by and check out all the YouTube videos. Again, we've been here for a year. I want to thank Peter Savio for letting us be transparent and educating, the public. There's a big difference between city and state, and this is the reason why we decided that we was going to do this, because it's so important for us to all understand, how, our state operates. So on behalf of producer Leah, Malia, Amagi, you guys have a great, great day.